We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports? We hope that you guys are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. Huge show in store for you tonight as LSU adds to their coaching staff for football. And we will get into a lot of those, or the hire, I should say, in Robert Steeples. But is LSU looking to finish their staff on the defensive side of the football in the next couple of days, possibly right after the holiday? We will touch on that. Some things that we are hearing for LSU's coaching staff. Could LSU have an offensive coordinator by Sunday or Monday? So we will touch on all of it as really this is the last show of 2021. We will ask you, what is your favorite AYS moment of 2021 to end the show? So get ready for that. Be thinking of some. As we do on every Tuesday and Thursday, hashtag Ask Blake. If you have a question, fire it inside the Rudy Crew chat, hashtag Ask Blake, and we will get to it. We'll also get into some recruiting and LSU basketball last night. Guys, I got to be honest. Last night I was planning on doing a show, but my God, did I feel absolutely awful. So had to kind of take the night off after the basketball game. Absolutely had to take the night off. So it's okay. We're back. Last show of the year. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be an absolutely fun one. Yes, I know that everybody is saying and talking about the Tennessee. So if you just missed it. So we'll get to this very quickly, and then we'll move on to some LSU. If you didn't just see it, Tennessee, yes, they got hosed there at the end of the game. Just crazy ending. I thought that he scored. But let me say this, and I tell you this all the time. If you missed it, running back looked like he got in for a touchdown. They said his forward progress was stopped. Your forward progress can't be stopped if you have an offensive player engaged with you, pulling you into the end zone. I mean, the rule, it's got to go down to the rule book and your determination of it, but his forward progress simply can't be stopped if you have an other offensive player engaging in him, pulling him into the end zone, which then gets him into the end zone. That literally means forward progress isn't stopped. Too quick of a whistle. But let me say this, and then we'll get started. There's 60 minutes in a football game. One play never, ever determines what the outcome of the game will be. One simple play can be an impact on how the game will turn out. But when you have 60 minutes in a football game, what happened with Tennessee when they gave up 12 20-yard completions? That can't happen. They gave up 2 long touchdowns there at the end of the fourth quarter for Purdue to tie it. That can't happen. The play at the end of the game does not determine – that play at the end of the game does not determine the final outcome. I mean, it does determine the final outcome. It should not determine the final outcome when you play a 60-minute game. It just shouldn't. So, Tennessee, yes, you can say that they got robbed, but look, you can't be in that situation. You cannot be in that situation. Let's call it what it is. Anyway. All right, let's get some comments before we get started. Semper says, Blake, or at Blake, when you just came on with that, my dog barked at you. I had that effect, I guess. Pooh Bear says, Tennessee got robbed, but they played like crap. Also, Cade York drills that field goal at the end of regulation. I agree with that. I very much agree with that. Duck says, Booty was waiting on the DC hire. No, he wasn't. Duck, I don't mean Duck Hunter 97 on YouTube. I don't mean that in the wrong way, but no, he wasn't. He was waiting for some NIL. Remember when the people? I'm leaving that one alone tonight. We're going into a new year. Lamar Williams says big pressure is in the building. That he is. And Jacob Cole says, I bet Tennessee fans are losing it. Music City Bowl must have confiscated all that mustard bottle at the door. What a horrible call. True. You can't let that happen, though. I mean, are we going to erase everything that happened in that game because, the entire 60-minute game because of that last play? I get it. They did get robbed. I'm not I'm not saying they didn't, but that just can't happen. It just can't happen. All right, let's get started. We'll do this. Let's do this. Everybody do us a favor by hitting a like and share. Share to some Facebook groups. If you are on Facebook, we have about 200 plus, 250 plus of y'all in Facebook currently live right now. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like button, and notification bell. If you're listening to us on Twitter, don't forget to hit the retweet and follow. And if you're listening to us on the audio podcast side, hit that subscribe button for us and throw us in a comment. So let's get started. Let's pay some bills. There's a lot of questions in here about Harold Perkins. We'll get to that first, and then we'll get started. None better than our good friends for the very last time in 2021. None better than our good friends over at GM Varno & Sons and betonline.ag. With 64 years of experience, nobody's better equipped to servicing your vehicle than GM Varno & Sons. RV repair, big rig overhaul, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job has been too big or too small over at GM. Give them a call today at 225-664-9992. That's 225-664-9992. Or go see them over at 2500 Fuller Boulevard in Denham Springs, Louisiana. Our good friends over at betonline.ag. Guys, I've been telling you, there's so many bowl games. We got playoff games tomorrow. We have the NFL following that. You got to get over to BetOnline if you want to bet on those games. Use the AYS Believe 50 podcast tab. That way that they know that your good friend Blake Ruffino sent you on by, and they will give you that 50% welcome bonus. That's betonline.ag. betonline.ag. All right, let's get this thing rolling, y'all. Thad says, stop taking the night off. I almost had to watch that clown roofer. Man, sorry, bud. Man, I had a severe headache last night. Like, severe headache. Juice Washington fires in hashtag Ask Blake. Are you concerned BK has not spoken to 5-star Harold Perkins? Yes and no. Here's a question, and Harold Perkins said this. If you listen to the interview closely, he said that Brian Kelly has reached out to him, but he was taking senior photos and he never called him back. So what does that tell me? You know, like, so you do have a coach that reached out to him. We know that Frank Wilson and others have reached out to Harold Perkins and want to get him in for a visit. Don't want him to commit this weekend, but I don't know, man. I don't know. But I will say this. It does not sound good for LSU with Harold Perkins. Doesn't sound good at all. So, is what it is, man. I mean, if you call the kid and he doesn't call you back, I mean, does he really want to talk to you? Justin Turner says, hashtag Ask Blake, how many 5 stars does it take A&M to still go 8-4? All of them. All of them. Let's see. Let's get to a couple more comments, and then we'll get started here soon. Donnie Wright says, COVID headache. My son got it. No, I don't have COVID. Holden Lee says, who cares about Harold Perkins? I want kids who want to be here. Jason Gilead says, all those missed threes gave me a headache too. Yeah, probably that's what it was. Absolutely what it was. Really wasn't so much a headache as my neck is killing me. Probably for carrying the LSU. Never mind. I'm going to be quiet. Craig Schilling says, tough being an NC State fan this year. College World Series and now bowl game to protocol rules. I didn't even think about that. You know, if y'all remember, speaking of something funny that goes on in sports and how sports is cyclical, do y'all remember that? And speaking of Harold Perkins, too, do you remember the Harold Perkins video with his family? And they're at A&M, and A&M's breaking the NCAA bylaws by being out with family members outside of technically in a dead period after 12 o'clock. And in the background, you hear them talking about Max Johnson, and he goes, they're like, who's good quarterback at LSU going to be? That stupid Max Johnson? He's not any good. And now Max Johnson is the quarterback at Texas A&M. So sports is so damn cyclical, man. Just always turning right around on you. That's why you can't make absolutes sometimes. And you gotta be okay with being wrong. If you do a show like this, you gotta be okay with being wrong. All right, let's get to some LSU. I know that's what you're all here for. If you missed it yesterday, yesterday, LSU hired defensive coach, which we know he'll be DB in the DB room, Robert Steeples. Now, his resume is very interesting to me. It's interesting to me that just a couple of seasons ago in 2019, he was a head coach, and I'm just going to call him Jesuit, in Missouri, in St. Louis, Missouri. And he brought his team, or that team, from a 2-8 team to the 8th best team in the country in high school. A couple seasons would go by as they won a state championship, and then they were runner-ups in 2020. Then he gets a call from Mike Zimmer, and not only is he not an analyst like most people are when they go to the NFL as their first head coach or coaching job in the NFL, just a simple analyst. That's how most people start off. He's on the field. He's in an on the field role. Interview with Brian Kelly when Brian Kelly was still at Notre Dame, wanted to be the DB's coach there. Now comes down when now Brian Kelly's obviously at LSU. Interviews at LSU with Brian Kelly, and now he's here. I'll tell you this: the man could flat out coach. Now he reminds me, and look, he's not going to be calling plays, but you do sometimes have coaches like this that are very young guys. He's my age. Guys, I'm 31 years old. I know he's 32, but we graduated in the same class. It's crazy to me that someone my age could be at high school, then the NFL, and now the DB's coach at LSU in just 3 seasons. He's going to be able to connect with these players well. He knows defense. He knows schemes. Guy played in the NFL. He's covered spread offenses, being at Missouri, then being at Memphis. He's seen it all in today's football. Can he recruit? Can Robert Steeples recruit? We've never seen him do it. We've never seen him do it. Now, can he learn some things from Kerry Cooks, who's going to be on staff? Can he learn some things from Brian Kelly? Let's hope so. But if he's here for a couple of seasons, which you hope that he will be, if he's here, you're gonna need to see him and how he recruits. So a lot of people saying slam dunk hire and all this. There's only a handful of coaches, guys. Only a handful of coaches in football at all 3 levels that are slam dunk hires. It's not a knock on Coach Steeples. He's literally never recruited. He's never been out on the trail. The last time that we saw something like this at LSU was obviously Joe Brady recruiting. He did not want to do it. Not saying that he couldn't do it, didn't want to do it. Now that situation was a little bit different. Seems as if Robert Steeples wants to be more in the college game of why he's coming here. Now, may be that there's some writing on the wall with Mike Zimmer in Minnesota, what have you. But the last time, too, you got a DB's coach from the NFL and specifically from Minnesota. Durante Jones did pretty well after Ed Orgeron just said, hey, you call what you want to do. So I like it, man. The only thing that I worry about for Coach Steeples is can he recruit? I don't worry about him coaching on the field. I don't worry about anything else. But he's going to be a motivator of young men. He's going to be able to connect with them. And, man, really, it's a great hire. It's not a slam dunk. It's just a great overall hire here, especially in a room at LSU that had some, let's call it what it is, some culture problems. I know this is going to be tough for some of you to hear, but LSU and their defensive back room had some culture issues. Elias Ricks now at Alabama, Derek Stingley getting a little nicked up, then going to a doctor without LSU's knowledge, without even Coach O knowing that the day that he was having surgery, not even knowing the prognosis of the surgery and what was going on. Guys, at some point, you got to call a spade a spade. If you're going to say it for one player, you better say it for the other. So 2 5-star corners that quite honestly gave up on you. I know a lot of people love Derek Stingley, but at the end of the day, Derek has some, and if you talk to anyone around the NFL, there are some issues and some question marks around Derek. Fantastic kid, fantastic player. He's got some question marks, and not small question marks either. Not small question marks either. So we'll see how that goes. Kenny says, witnessing Coach Steeple's personality, it appears he will be a good recruiter. Well, he's just never done it yet. So we got to watch him do it. Jamie Hodges says, hashtag Ask Blake on YouTube. Who are we looking for? A QB coach. Who will we keep? Andre Carter at D-line coach. Look, I don't think that we're retaining Andre Carter for the D-line. There's some things that I'm hearing that LSU is putting things into motion, could be happening soon. Announcement could be soon. It's kind of all over the place. But Derek LeBlanc, who is a former Arkansas D-line coach, has sat out this year. But the question I keep asking, and cannot get confirmed from anyone, and we'll see how this goes, is if you have a coach that sat out a season, why are you waiting so long to announce the hire? But from what I understand is Andre Carter is not going to be retained on the staff. I know that stinks, but here we go again, right? Here we go again in the sense of, guys, we went 11-11. You got to have a culture change. Sometimes you got to clean house. Guys, the last time Brian Kelly cleaned a staff out and told everybody to go bye-bye, they were 4-8. Then they put together 5 straight 10-plus win seasons. Sometimes you gotta tear everything down to build everything back up. It's not a slight at anybody, but sometimes the fit and things have to be rebuilt. Pooh Bear says, great hire. Resume shows he can coach on both sides and also develop players. Great motivator. I agree with that. So only one thing he's missing. Mark says LSU women's basketball is up 51-40 over number 13 Georgia. How about that? Kim Mulkey coming in here saying she needs a couple years to get things rolling. And all of a sudden she's doing what she's doing. And I'm not even monitoring the Peach Bowl. Like I'm legitimately not. Legitimately just not going to watch it. Mainly because, too, I will be on with Carter the Power Bryant on his YouTube channel, Power Hour LSU with Carter the Power. So follow it. It's right after my show, so follow us there. Aunt Marshall says LeBlanc for DL coach. That's a lot of what seems to be out there right now. Talk to some people around Arkansas. I don't know. Trying to use my words carefully here. Apparently there was a snag with him in Arkansas, but see, you say stuff like that and that rubs people the wrong way, right? It really doesn't rub me the wrong way. That's just how that profession works. But as a protege of Pete Jenkins, I know a name that a lot of LSU fans either do or do not want to hear. But he's a good coach. He's been at LSU before. We'll see how that goes. But I just don't believe Andre Carter is going to be retained. Alex says there's not too much film on Stingley outside of 2019 in Central Michigan. No, I mean there's a lot of bad film on Stingley too. A lot of good, a lot of bad. We'll see, man. I see a lot of people in here firing off about Kayshon Boutte as well. Do we need to go through all last week? Do we need to go through all of last week's shows? Guys, boosters are what they are. Okay? I don't even know the proper words to describe a booster on air, but we're not behind. When you have universities paying players to come on official visits while LSU's doing things legally because the program knows that nothing's going to come down on them. I'm just going to call it what it is. Jimbo Fisher's a slimy piece of shit when it comes to some of this shit. So is A&M. It's a little slimy. Now, recruiting is dirty, But there's a difference between getting your hands muddy and putting your hands in the dirt. And then there's a difference in jumping off in a cesspool of Rudy poo. And that's what Jimbo Fisher is. Texas A&M desperately wants a national title, but what they don't understand is it takes more than just players. It takes more than just coaches. You can't. Every time a team pays their way to a title, look, I'm a huge Yankees fan. They try to pay their way into a World Series every year. Never works. Not here recently. Not here recently. You could pay yourself into a playoff. You can't pay yourself into a world title. Anyway. Pooh Bear says 10-7 Michigan State. Michigan State just got the ball back. There we go. Juice Washington says, hashtag ask Blake, what defense does the new DC run? Very multiple. I think you'll have more of an odd man front, though. Look, though, man, you're not that deep that in the interior of the defensive line, though. Actually, you're not deep at all. You got Jacoby and Guillory, Mason Smith, Jaquelin Roy, and then you might have Quincy Wiggins. I mean, you're going to have to go get some bodies, man. You're going to have to go get some guys that can play. You're going to have to get creative. God, my neck's killing me, man. I might need to have neck surgery. I'm not joking with that. Football wounds do not heal sometimes. Aaron McKenzie says, Carter's show is awesome. I'll definitely be there. Let's go. Yeah, I'll be there at 8 o'clock. I'll be there at 8 o'clock. T-Mac Sanchez says, hashtag ask Blake, how many high school players can A&M have in this class? Look, man, I am not a aficionado of Texas A&M, but it seems like they have to be done. Now, what I've started doing is seeing all these kids that they've signed and how many of them have gone on official visits and unofficial visits, because the argument's going to be that Texas A&M blue-shirted and gray-shirted kids, and there are regulations to blue-shirting and gray-shirting kids. But everybody that they've had on has had it or has signed, has had an official visit, which then would in turn mean that they broke that rule. How they're getting away with it, I don't know. I don't know. And nobody seems to be able to give me that answer. They tell me that they can sign kids, but they don't give me a formative answer. So they say, well, we're blue shirting and gray shirting some kids. Well, who? And not only who, and the reason that they're not going to tell you who the kids that they're putting on the lower tier of their recruiting class is because they know that if they say that publicly, somebody like me is going to start looking into that shit and saying, yeah, you can't do that. Anyway. Josh says, I didn't realize Auburn lost their football game. Yep. Also beat us in basketball, too. I know that there was a whole humbug about the Jabari Smith kid and him being an LSU legacy, and him that kid's a beast. Guys, you're going to lose them. Sometimes kids want to make their own paths. They don't want to be in the shadow of their parents. You got to be okay with that. If my son never wants to put on an LSU hat and come on here on microphone and talk about LSU sports, I'm perfectly okay with that. He does not have to live up to Blake Ruffino's legacy. He's got to live up to his own. And what does he want to accomplish? So I know that there's a lot of people they're on this Jabari Smith. Oh, he's a legacy kid. Get off of that, man. Terrell Grimsley on Facebook says, do you have anything on TDP entering the draft? I told he was not going to play in the bowl game about 2 weeks ago. We'll see. We'll see. I haven't really followed up on that too much. Robert Laws on Facebook says, hashtag ask Blake, with all the new hires, do you see any transfer portal upperclassmen coming back or not going into the draft? So interesting you talk about guys coming back. Today's really interesting. Because 4 or 5-star wide receiver from last year, Deion Smith from Mississippi, was on campus today with Kayshon Boutte. Now, Kayshawn made a statement yesterday that says he's not going anywhere. Then Gordon McKernan and others put things in motion. But I'll tell you this, before Gordon McKernan did anything with Kayshawn Boutte, go check his Instagram out. Things don't just happen. Things don't just come out of the thin blue ass air. All right? So interesting about people coming back. Deion Smith was on campus today, which looked like the training room. I did not see the Instagram story until I started digging around, and I was told it. Then somebody told me, they were like, "Hey, go check out Kayshawn Boutte's Instagram story." I was like, "Oh, okay." So, Aaron Adams says hashtag Ask Blake. At this point, after what we've been through with the last two head coaches, I'm cautiously optimistic, watching and waiting to see what a clean house with Kelly at the top looks like. It's foreign to all of us, I know. It is foreign to all of us, and you fear what you don't know. Everyone fears what they don't know or what they haven't seen or what they're not comfortable with. But change and evolution and progress is always good. I shouldn't say always good, but historically is good. When there's two schools of thought from LSU fans that I see. You have one side that understands what Brian Kelly's doing and giving him the ability to do it. And then there's another side of LSU fans who are like, I can't believe we got rid of Corey Raymond. But then there's people in the middle that's like, yeah, I could see either one, either retaining Corey Raymond or not. The culture was horrific in that DB room. If you don't want to even talk about the culture, then when you want to talk about on the field, LSU being 127th in passing defense in 2020 and then 91st this season, Corey Raymond was still the cornerbacks coach. Guys, they were getting in 2020, LSU was getting lost in man-to-man coverage. So I understand that people fear what they don't know, but sometimes you have to move on. It's like look, I would assume there's close to 600, 700 of you in here right now. Most of you have been in relationships, and most of you either have broken up with someone or have been broken up with. For those of you that have had your heart broken and been broken up with, it's not easy to move on. But what life teaches you is eventually you got to move on to progress your life. You can't get attached to something that technically isn't yours. Meaning, this staff is not anything to be, this last year's staff is not anything to be proud of. From the top down. There's still some things that I hear that's in motion from a Scott Woodward perspective that LSU has to change, and he better do it quickly. Anyway. Cam says on YouTube, I'm already a miserable Saints fan. Please don't bring up the Yankees, Blake. Look, man, I want the Yankees to be at my funeral so they could let me down one last time. The mayor says, I guess he says, I can't trust BK. I trust him anymore. So I trust him anymore. I don't know what you're saying, Mayor. Harold Woods II says on Facebook, hashtag Ask Blake, do you know if Kelly will clean house with compliance and administration? Man, I hope he does. There's things going on in administration right now and compliance that I hear. But yeah. Reed Wilson says Deion Smith said Kayshawn Boutte was just trolling. You don't troll going into a training facility. You don't troll going into a training facility. Bullshit. Brandon Reese says, hashtag Ask Blake, who do you think the new wide receivers coach will be? Well, that's an interesting one. I think that your wide receivers coach is still technically coaching, and I think that he's going to be coaching tomorrow. Cortez Hankton is a name that I continue to hear, but it's kind of gone. The steam has kind of lowered down a little bit on Cortez, but we'll see. Do y'all remember when I got ripped by the LSU beat writer guys and saying, Blake, you don't know that Frank Wilson's going to be the running backs coach? Now they're all admitting without admitting that Frank Wilson's going to coach running backs. Y'all remember that? Aggravating ass shit. All right, let's do this. Let's get to a quick break because we're going to cut it. We're going to be a little shorter here tonight. We'll answer your questions. We'll get to stuff, but we're going to be a little bit shorter. Fire in, what are your best AYS 2021 moments? Fire them inside the chat right now. What are some of your favorite moments of the show? Things that we've done. There have been a lot of great moments. There have been a lot of sad moments. There have been a lot of happy moments. There have been a lot of funny moments. There have been a lot of yelling moments, mostly by me. There's been a lot of mad moments. It's been a lot of breaking news moments. So what are your favorite AYS memories of 2021 as we kick off 2022? So let's get to a quick break, and then we'll be right back. None better than our good friends over at the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Guys, have you been hurt? Have you been affected by Hurricane Ida? Is the insurance company giving you the runaround on your claim? Go over to the drakewilliamslawfirm.com or give them a call at 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600. They will give you a free consultation and let you know every step that you need to do to be able to get more money from the insurance company and to get that claim right. The worst thing that they can tell you guys is that there's nothing that they could do more for you. That's the Drake Williams Law Firm at the drakewilliamslawfirm.com. 985-386-7600. And my good friend John Patton over at GMFS Mortgage. Guys, going through this process now, and I got to tell you, it has been some of the easiest stuff I've ever done, even though it's a complex process. But John has a great team around him that will help you and knows everything and step-by-step that you need to do. Interest rates going a little up. Sometimes they go a little down. They will get you the best right now. And again, just like with the Drake Williams Law Firm, there's nothing they can't do. They will tell you. But look, I'm a living testimony of them. Buying a new home, saving money on the mortgage you have now, or even doing the cash out refi. Give them a call today at 225-614-1234. Tell them Blake at AYS sent you on by. All right, let's get to a couple of these. Down here at the bottom, Kevin, let's start off with Kevin. He says 2021 titty nipple is his number one. Teresa Michelle says, I love your rants and speaking the truth 2021 rants. Danny Girl on YouTube says her favorite on 2021 is having to lower my volume on my phone while watching AYS outside after the games and Blake losing his shit over the terrible play calling. That's true. That's true. I did lose my shit after Auburn. Father Matthew Christopher Aber. The father is in the building. He says his favorite AYS moment was the baseball coaching search and the Jay Johnson hire, mostly because that's when I jumped into the Rudy Crew train. I love it. The mayor says, hashtag Blake, my favorite word I learned from AYS class is Rudy Poo. If you smell. Gilson on YouTube says, Coach O, left a third in the toilet, maybe a turd in the toilet. What are you going to do? Leave it or are you going to flush it? Harold Wood says, I love the country accent. A country Granger. Yeah, a lot of people like the country accent. Way on under on Chattahoochee. It gets hotter than the hoochie coochie. Man, I come from a place where their bloodline is blood type is moonshine. They don't like Italians, man. Ray Pontiff says them lemon pepper steppers. My favorite moment. Rob Sense says hashtag ask Blake, how are they so bad at their jobs and what are they doing different? How is who so bad at their jobs? You're talking about Orgeron and company? Orgeron just didn't give a shit. Like, he was over. Blaine Smith says Ruffino's rants on O were funny. Craig Schilling says AY's best of 2021, cooking up the meth and the police tearing up at 7:30 each night. Drake Williams. So true. So true. Oh, God, I forgot about that. Every night at 7:30 when we were displaced from Hurricane Ida, the police would light them sirens up at 7:30. Whoop, whoop. I mean, call us Lil Wayne. It's like the police officer song. I want to sing the lyrics so bad, but they're such bad lyrics, and this is, I'm trying to do better in 2022. Can't do it. Chris English says losing your absolute shit over the NIL BS. True. Chad Briscoe says let them titties hang out. That was a good one. Floyd says hashtag ask Blake, we have a quarterback now. Do we have the players to win with him? Look, I know a lot of people like Miles, and I think he's a good quarterback. Do you have the quarterback, or are you talking about Walker Howard? Look, it's going to be a minute with Walker, man. It's going to be a minute. Kid's still a little injured. So, look, Kevin says, who, Mike Jones? It's true. Nick Wobble says the long titties, the 2021 hashtag 2021 moments. Roger says fave was when Blake said, look, you better shape up, Big Daddy, because they coming for that ass. It's classic. It's true. They did come for that ass. Reed Wilson says, beat it like a lady cop. I was going to sing it, man, but I was just like, man, look, it, yeah. Justin Turner says, good luck with Rutgers. Good luck with Rutgers. True. Look, we will Josh Greer said the salt teeth. That was a good one too. Look, we're gonna end the show in about 5 minutes or 4 or 5 minutes. So let's end it here as we go into this new year. So I'm gonna leave you with some LSU news. First we'll go to basketball and then we'll go to football. LSU basketball will be okay. They shot a lot of threes and missed. You're not going to shoot three. You're not going to be, at least historically, teams that are good shooting teams are not going to be 3 from 20 from behind the arc. Auburn's a better team than LSU. I think that the Reed kid, Efton Reed, has got to play bigger. He's got to play bigger. So as we go into 2022, you have to. These players that are 5 stars have to step up. On the football side and the football angle of all of this next week, even the next couple of days, are going to be very interesting. So what did we learn so far with Brian Kelly? Number one, the first day that you could talk to a coach on an NFL coaching staff, we know that Brian Kelly formally made contact with Matt House. We also know that Matt House accepted the job to be the DC the next day at 7 o'clock. Wasn't even 24 hours after the fact. Cincinnati plays tomorrow at 2:30. Now, I'm going to tell you something. There are some that I've talked to that feel as if it's going to be Saturday, Monday, that Mike Denbrock's the guy. That is their feeling. Don't know specifically yet if it is. However, it looks likely. And then your pieces are going to fall in place. Then it's like you know, once a lot of these pieces fall in, it's like when Thanos got all the Infinity Stones. Or more or less, it's like when the Guardians of the Galaxy all finally came together. Or it's like when Captain America and everybody came through the portals and he says Avengers Assemble and they started kicking ever living ass. Patience is virtue. So as we leave you here in this year, just understand there's going to be news right around the horizon. I promise you that. Ryan Thibodeau says, QT. Did I ever tell y'all how I picked up my wife? The line that Big Daddy used to pick up Miss Megan Tragle. I told my wife she was like the 20 letters of the alphabet. She tells me, Blake, there's 26. And I was like, damn it. I forgot that you are a QT. And then she said, that's only 5. And I told her I'd give her another one of those letters later. I'll let you fill in that blank. But seeing QT made me think about you are a QT. The mayor says Gaines needs control driving the lane. He needs to sit his ass down sometimes. He needs to sit his ass down. I try to tell you, man, you are a QT. All right. We'll call it for this year. Y'all have a good night. God bless you. Be safe. Be safe. LSU news is right around the horizon. We'll be there for you on every step of the way. We'll see y'all again in the new year in 2022. Y'all have a good night. Peace out, Girl Scouts.